Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. In the last 10 days or so, we have witnessed on the media and among the people major debates about the various controversies surrounding the ministers in the NDA government and the Rajasthan Chief Minister. Meanwhile, another controversy has broken out in Maharashtra involving a lady minister there too. This country has not been new to controversies involving ministers or politicians. In the two UPA governments between 2004 and 2014, we had witnessed a series of controversies involving ministers. Every time a scandal or controversy broke out, the reactions were predictable, as we see now too. The media and the opposition would go hammer and tongs at the person involved and the government and the ruling party, demanding his or her resignation. And the concerned person and the government and the party would hit back saying it's a media's creation, or the opposition party raising petty issues without any basis. When bases or proofs became available, there was still resistance, and in some cases, the action would come later. During the 10 years of UPA rule, more than half a dozen ministers and even a chief minister had to resign after some resistance. The same kind of scenario is playing itself out now also. In the earlier days, when morality and ethics played a certain important role in politics, the scenario was different. So, has Indian politics become immune to ethics and morality? And how far people and their responses to such scandals and controversies are responsible for it? We will discuss all this today in the present context of ministers and the chief minister facing charges and the kind of responses we are witnessing. To discuss this, I have with me Manishankar Iyer, former Union Minister and Congress MP in the Rajya Sabha, Seshadri Chari, Member National Executive of the BJP, Saurabh Bharadwaj, Aam Aadmi Party MLA, and Vinod Sharma, Political Editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Manishankar Iyer, has this become some kind of a default reaction of political parties, whichever government, whichever party is in power, the default reaction when such controversies or scandals break out is, no, we don't have to resign, there is nothing wrong has been done?
I have listened to your introduction with some astonishment. I don't think it is properly historically based. When allegations are made against a minister, surely it is both the responsibility of the minister as well as of the Prime Minister to ascertain what is the reaction of the minister against whom the allegation is made before action is taken. Okay. I am old enough to fully remember the Mundra case. TTK didn't resign immediately. It took a little while before he did. And the same thing happened subsequently when there was another scandal involving a Tamil industrialist in, I think, the year 1965. Earlier, there had been the so-called Jeep scandal, where in fact nobody resigned. So, if you were to look at these examples in India, as well as to consider cases like, for instance, Nixon abroad, it is all right to make an allegation, that is the job of the media, but to expect that instantly whatever the media says is to be taken as a final judgment is to expect too much. Now, in the case of the UPA 2 and 1 that you drew attention to, all these ministers left even if they were protesting their innocence. And therefore, for you to conclude from your own remark that half a dozen ministers have been involved, well, that means about 56 ministers haven't been involved. So please don't draw generalized conclusions. The fact is that ethics is extremely important in politics, that most politicians are able to run their political life without even attracting charges, and when serious charges are made, or even less than serious charges are made, they come immediately under attack, and then most of them are required to leave their position, at least until their innocence is proved. But you take the case of A.R. Antule, he was made to leave his job for 14 years, and then the Supreme Court declared him innocent. So I would suggest that we cannot discuss ethics in politics in such narrow terms.
In narrow terms, okay. We'll take a word for it, but Vinod Sharma, what Mani says, can't discuss it in narrow terms. He gives certain examples of it. But we have seen ministers going out, finally going out, kicking and screaming. And why does that happen?
I think that, perception is very important. Yes, of course, the media coverage cuts either way. At times, we are very much on the target. At times, we are way off the mark. But most of the examples which Mani have quoted belong to the age of innocence, Even T.T. Krishnamachari, compared to the present-day ministers, given the kind of shenanigans that can be attributed to them, would come across as an angel, And frankly, the person who led the charge against him was Firoz Gandhi in Parliament. So we remember those cases, but we also remember you have the photograph here of Veerbhadra Singh. He resigned the day the charge was leveled against him. And he went back, and he proved his innocence or still is fighting the case.
But there are also other people.
But there were people like L.K. Advani in the Jain Hawala case. He quit his membership of Parliament. And he declared openly that I would not enter Parliament unless I am proved innocent of the charges.
But there are also ministers who just wouldn't go and went out screaming.
That's what I'm saying. And, these were the people who were called perhaps once by Rajiv Gandhi, a friend of my friend Mani, limpets, Yeah, lampat in Hindi, the point is that the kind of human resource that we are dealing with now is way, way inferior from the examples cited by Mani. For instance, when Natwar Singh resigned, I felt very sad for him, because I thought that if he has done that, it was something very stupid. But finally he resigned. Pressure was brought to bear upon him that he's resigned in the interest of the party, that party should not be facing the flag in Parliament. You see, individuals can't be bigger than institutions.
Exactly.
And today, if there is a cloud of doubt, or Vasundhara, or Sushma ji, or other ministers, they must just demit office and come clean before a court of law. In public life, you can't say that I have this guarantee and I want an insurance cover that till the time I'm in politics, I shall remain in power.
Okay. Seshadri Chari, how do you look at this? See, in the present context, what is happening is one thing. In the past is another thing. What Mani says also needs to be taken, and he has also pointed out instances where people have quit in the first instance itself. In the present context, how do you look at this whole thing? What is the responsibility of the political party, the ruling political party, in these kind of cases? The head of the government, under whom all these people work, what are their responsibilities?
Yeah, in fact, I'm entirely in agreement with what Mr. Manishankar Iyer has just said. But that is only one part of it. It is true. Of course, we are discussing this issue in the background of certain political happenings concerning politicians. But when you come to ethics, can you differentiate between ethics in politics, or ethics in sports, or ethics in general society? If there is lack of ethics in politics, politics is a representation of the government.
So it's a reflection of what happens in the society.
It is a reflection of the society. So there is a gradual fall in the ethical standards of the society also. So you will get, there was a time when people used to say Yatha Raja Tatha Praja, but now it is the other way around. It is Yatha Praja Tatha Raja. People get the government they deserve. And if people are not vigilant, whether it is UPA or Congress or BJP or Jan Sangh or whatever it is, this is what will happen. So it is a question of leadership. The leadership of all these political parties will have to sit and think. Not only political parties, come to talk of ethics in sports. And here in this particular case, although we are not subjecting the entire discussion to what is happening in the political arena, there is a fall of standards and ethics in sports, and that is reflecting in politics to a very large extent unfortunately.
Because of the nexus.
Because of the nexus. So, should there not be a total ban on a politician holding a sports post?
That's it. That is a...
Can we distance commercial interests? Can we not distance commercial interest? I will be surprised. I will be surprised if Mr. Vinod Sharma or Manishankar Iyer becomes the president of some sports club. It's all right to be a sportsman, But it is different to be a politician and also hold a sports
No, why are you including
position.
Vinod Sharma?
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm saying
I
a
can
journalist.
be a member of the sports club, a president of the sports club.
So the
Do you have
question
one?
is,
I'm willing to
the question
preside.
is, I
That is
think we
fine,
will
but
have
in
to
the-
we will have to look at ethics from the point of view of
So-
the governance system, and we can
And
we
this
can actually
resistance-
introduce these things.
This resistance, Mani, Saurabh, before I come to you, I just want to go back to Mani. Mani, see, in the present context, would you say what you said, that, you know, unless and until things are proved, there's enough evidence, you cannot expect people to resign. So in the present instance of these, you know, 3 or 4 ministers, a chief minister, you know, demands resignation from them, would you also apply the same yardstick?
Yes, of course I would. But in the case of Vasundhara Raje, her signature is proof enough. And her statement that she does not want this signature to be revealed to the Indian authorities. And the fact of its being a publicly known, not just a privately known fact, that Lalit Modi was an absconder from justice. A bhagoda, as the Home Secretary, former Home Secretary, described him. So, to my mind, the stage has been reached where there is enough proof for her continuance in office to be described as unethical. Now, in the case of Pankaja, there is a defense that has been put up which needs to be examined a little further. She has said that there were rules already existing pertaining to certain rate contractors being given the contracts without tendering. Now, is that true or not? I don't know. But it would be, I would not demand a resignation immediately if there is some kind of a justification that needs to be looked into a little further.
What about...
And in the case of Smriti Irani,
Yes.
she's the education minister, and to have her being arraigned before a court for having said a falsehood about her own educational qualifications, that certainly raises a question which is for Smriti Irani to answer.
And what about the foreign minister?
In the case of the foreign minister, I think now that we know that she actually did ask that assistance be rendered to an absconder. Now, I don't know whether in the case of Sushma Swaraj, we have all the details as we have in the case of Vasundhara. Did she ask only for an emergency visa, emergency papers to be given to Lalit Modi to go to Portugal to be with his wife? Or was the nature of her request such that he would be given papers that would enable him not only to go to his wife's bedside, but to travel further into Spain and subsequently all over the European Economic Community. I don't know where else he has been.
So you still
I say that with respect to Sushma Swaraj, it is for her to provide the clarifications that could introduce an element of doubt about her guilt. But in the case of Vasundhara Raje, I think the matter is booked, hooked and cooked.
Okay. No, but you know, it's important. Vinod, you want to respond to it?
Yeah.
No, but you know, it's interesting what Mani is saying, because he's taken a different stand from what his party is saying as far as the other ministers are concerned.
I think he's injecting reason
exactly
in the stand taken by his party, and I quite understand that. Any thinking person will do that. I have a question actually for Mani sir, that if he were in Sushma's place, would he have taken the course what Chidambaram suggested in his press conference, that she should have gotten him an Indian travel document, a one-off travel document to
come back to
Lisbon to render assistance to his wife, and then return to India and face the process of law?
Yes, but
though Mani has been never a foreign minister,
no, but he has had it.
But he knows adequately about the way the foreign office operates.
Absolutely. Manishankar Iyer, would you like to respond to that?
Well, if I were the foreign minister at the time that Sushma Swaraj was, I would never have intervened with either Keith Vaz or with any authority in the United Kingdom to have any facilities given to a man who was absconding from the Indian law. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
So I would not have been in the dilemma as to what kind of travel documents to ask for. I just wouldn't have intervened except to say that you are an Indian, please come back to India to face the law, and if the Indian authorities will allow you to have the travel papers, then as foreign minister I will give them to you.
Okay.
But at this time when Sushma Swaraj intervened with Keith Vaz, now the problem is that Sushma Swaraj has not spoken up in her own defense.
Right. Okay. Saurabh, coming to you, sorry for coming to you so late, but Saurabh, Aam Aadmi Party came in with a lot of hopes, created a lot of hopes among the people, but got into, even in its first term and as well in the second term that we are in now, got into controversies involving your ministers. Again, as I said earlier, the default reaction of your party also, which came in with a lot of talking about ethics, morality in governance and all that, the default reaction was to deny that anything wrong has been done, and then it took quite some time before you people had asked your ministers to resign. Why? So has the Aam Aadmi Party also, kind of been influenced by the mainstream political parties and the way they react?
I think you have raised a very valid point, and the way things happened in Aam Aadmi Party's government with respect to our minister, Mr. Jitendra Tomar, the party regrets that this happened, and there is a lot of thought process which is going on within the party and within the government that such things should not be repeated, and if there are any allegations of this sort, the reaction should be different from what we did this time. And I think for different political parties, the way they are behaving with respect to the allegations is that these days the elections are fought on the basis of a perception, and earlier, long back, the perceptions were formed through commentators or historians and senior journalists kind of things, but now there are a lot of commercial ways of manufacturing a perception, and a lot of political parties do believe that even if they are not honest or they are dishonest and they have a lot of loopholes with them, at the time of elections they would be able to manufacture a false perception in their favor. Yes.
Okay. That is interesting. What he says is very interesting.
Made an interesting point about perception.
Yes.
I think it's a very valid
manufacturing, you can manufacture perceptions, you can create a situation where people will start believing what is wrong.
Yes, it is.
So that's why I said.
Let him finish.
That's why I said the basic flaw lies not only in political parties, but the basic flaw lies in the society. If society is prepared to purchase opinions, purchase opinion, literally.
Yeah.
Like purchasing some goods from the market, by comparing this goods and that goods and what is cheaper and what is economical and what suits their pocket. Right. If this is the kind of opinion that the society is able to form, it becomes very easy for a person with a lot of money. I mean, I can dare say this openly on a television show, that all the guests on your show today do not have enough money to create a perception about themselves. That is and that may be one of the reasons for, excepting probably for Mr. Bharadwaj, who is a MLA, and Manishankar Iyer, who is an MP. I think it's very difficult to enter the portals of Parliament unless you have the kind of money and unless you have the kind of wherewithal to manage the perception. And that is where we are all suffering today.
No, I don't buy this.
No, Vinod, let me get money. Manishankar Iyer, how do you react to Seshadri Chari's and Saurabh Bharadwaj's interesting observations?
You see, so long as we have a system in which parties are not accountable for the amount of money they've spent, and only individuals are required, individual candidates are required to submit their returns, there is plenty of scope for purchasing opinion. And I think a lot of the opinion that went to the BJP in the last Lok Sabha election was purchased in the sense of humongous sums of money being spent to convey a a characterization of their candidate and a characterization of his opponents that were not founded in fact.
But Vinod, you wanted to respond to what Shehzad
No, you see, may I say one thing? There are a couple of things. I think if you're talking about this in the context of the elections and the campaign that was run by the BJP, yes, of course, I would put the same point which Mani made differently. I would say that, political parties should be judged on the basis of their expenditure. What kind of expenditure are they making? Not on the kind of funds they raise. Then we'd know that how clean or how dirty they are. A. B. The perception problem. Now, when the BJP could run a campaign which was a single horse campaign, of course, there was some management of perception there, but that was abetted and helped by a singular lack of opposition on the ground.
That is,
there was nothing
no,
that one could see by way of opposition on the ground.
But we are not
so
discussing.
it could not, it
no,
was
we are not
countered
that.
on the ground.
We are not discussing on that. Well, my question is this: that now, when you see the kind of resistance, about minister, as all of you agree that there is this case of the Rajasthan chief minister who seems to be an open and shut case at this point of time.
Yeah.
The kind of resistance which is happening, the kind of justifications being given that she has a majority of the MLAs behind her, that's why she can't be asked to resign. No, here the question of ethics of the parties involved, the party leadership involved, what has happened to that? Has party leadership become some kind of, a slave to the perceptions which are...
You see, the party is currently...
I want you to
the party is currently led by people who themselves did not resign when they should have resigned.
Okay, I think you have made the point. Yes, Shehzad Chari.
No, I see, we are not getting into individuals now. I am not looking at this issue from the individual point of view.
No, the individuals,
but I would still go by what Mr. Manishankar Iyer said. The case is now developing. All these cases are developing. We can have a little bit of benefit of doubt in certain cases, but sooner or later, I think all these cases will have to come to a logical conclusion. And if there is ample proof and evidence to
no leadership can resist doing the right thing.
No leadership can resist, and if the leadership resists, it's not the question of UPA or NDA, it's not the question of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi or Mr. Narendra Modi. The question is, if they resist in the face of ample proof of commitment of an error, it's not just an error of judgment, it is a willful concealment of certain facts, and if these are all proved, I think even if this leadership takes a different view or opinion on that score, the leadership will have to pay a very heavy political price.
We will have to pay a very heavy price. That's very interesting, and I'm glad you said that. Saurabh Bharadwaj, you think that your leadership has had to pay a political price for the kind of resistance which it showed in the earlier, and you think that you have learnt your lessons for the future?
I'm sure, I think and I believe that we have lost, a lot of perception war in that terms, because we tried to resist it for some time, although there were some valid reasons for that. And another important, aspect I would like to point out these days is that, if you find that Vasundhara Raje has got some allegations, or, Sushma Swaraj has got a list of allegations, the current leadership of a political party wants to do is that, they just want to decouple Vasundhara Raje effect or, Sushma Swaraj effect from Narendra Modi. So this decoupling exercise is always going on, so that, there may be a lot of corrupt people in your party, but Narendra Modi is an honest man. The party leadership or the,
like it is happening in your party also,
it as a good thing that,
It happened with Manmohan Singh also.
I will not comment on it, but there is a kind of thing which is happening, which happens. This is a common problem among the perception managers of a party, that their only imagination is just to decouple the political leadership of a party from those of the scamsters and all those things. However, the collective leadership thing,
ultimately
the democratic thing,
ultimately everybody has to pay the price.
There should be a collective responsibility.
Okay.
Yes.
Manishankar Iyer, you know, in the present day situation of the media, you know, being so, I would even call it intrusive, and you know, all encompassing. You think that your you know, suggestion that that you should wait till all the facts come out or things become very clear before, you know, is that a practical thing? Because an allegation is made in the afternoon. Today it has happened. One of your senior leaders has come out with an allegation, and he has demanded resignation immediately.
Look, breaking news doesn't mean breaking heads. It is the job of the media to be relevant at this instant and to be irrelevant by breakfast time tomorrow morning. So the whole purpose of the media and the manner in which it functions is different to that of any other segment of society. If merely on the basis of an allegation being made, there has to be immediate resignation, then I think you can easily make allegations against 600 MPs and stop democracy in the country. The allegation has to be shown to have substance, and the person against whom the allegation has been made has to be given an opportunity of giving a clarification on their part. And then if it becomes palpable that the evidence against the person is very considerable and the answer has not been satisfactory, then of course the person himself is left with no alternative to resign, because otherwise he'd harm the party very greatly.
Okay.
So a number of people during UPA 1 and 2, whose guilt is to be established in a court of law, had in fact resigned because the perception was that they were not completely above board, or that they needed to step out in order to be able to defend themselves credibly. So I don't think there should be a nexus established between an allegation being made in the 9 o'clock news and the resignation of the minister taking place on the 10 o'clock news. They have to give some time for responses to take place,
so actually
informed public opinion.
So actually, Manishankar, so you think that the Prime Minister's silence, about which there has been a hue and cry, the silence of the President of the Bharatiya Janata Party and things like that, you know, is actually justified to a certain extent?
No, they don't get justified at all. The allegations about these matters have been made several days ago, and especially so authoritarian a people as Narendra Modi and Amit Shah could easily have secured whatever clarifications they want and have given a statement, and had a statement come, then maybe the credibility of the government would have been higher than it is today.
Okay.
But I agree with the cartoon in today's Hindu, which shows Narendra Modi trying to put his finger into every hole in the dike that there is. The BJP's credibility today is at an all-time low, because the Prime Minister and the President of that party have had nothing to say in the last 3 weeks.
Okay, very quickly, last one.
No, all this argument which is being made falls flat if we were to take the case of the Honorable HRD Minister. No, was there any doubt about it? Wasn't there prima facie evidence crying for attention? And why is it that attention has gotten focused on her only when somebody has moved the court?
Okay.
Why did this evidence fail to move
Vinod, we are not getting into these details, but the fact is that, as most of my guests have said, that as far as ethics and morality is concerned, it's a different time altogether. It's a different. But as Seshadri Chari very rightly pointed out, if the leadership doesn't take these things into consideration, they will have to pay a heavy price, a heavy political price. We'll wait and watch. Anyway, it was an interesting discussion. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture, same time on Monday. And meanwhile, please have a great weekend.